Hey, gang. Welcome back to another segment of Bookends. He's Jason. I'm Chucky. This is our buddy Teaser. We know that both hockey and basketball are winding down, Jay. It's almost playoff time, and we're going to touch on that. But the NFL schedule came out. There's some great games. We've got Week 1 up. We've got all the Raider games up. The season kicks off with the defending champ Patriots playing America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. It finishes with a team in our own backyard, the Raiders hosting the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. Bears and Rams play in SoFi on Sunday Night Football for the fourth time of the last 4 years. So there's a lot of good games. Now, there's some kind of interesting schedule quirks for Week 1.
Yeah, I thought the irony in the schedule makers was absolutely fantastic, and some of the matchups from rookie quarterbacks or guys that are changing teams. Week 1 is loaded with a really interesting storylines, and I think one of the more interesting ones was the Jets going to Carolina, where we watched Sam Darnold traded from the Jets to Carolina this year. We'll see rookie quarterback Zach Wilson in that matchup. So
that'll be a good prop, right? Who'll have more yards passing that day?
It's loaded. You watch the Chiefs and the Browns, I think, is a incredible, interesting matchup Week 1, and like you said, the whole card is really filled. Really looking forward to it. Glad we got the
Matt Stafford, who played the Bears, 2 times for his 12-year career in Detroit. Now he opens up playing the Bear defense, and
same thing
Mack.
for Goff. He goes to Detroit, and then he gets to welcome the Niners.
Right?
Team that he's vastly familiar with. So again, you can look up and down that schedule and have a lot of fun with it.
Patriots Dolphins. It could be if Mac Jones starts an all Alabama quarterback battle between Tua and Mac Jones. So there is a lot of cool stuff that day.
We'll see who gets the starts in some of those rookie games. And one of the games that was really interesting from putting the line up and actually making a number in Week 1 was the Broncos at Giants game. And we opened the Broncos as a short favorite, which was really, really a tough number to make because we're making some projections there. I think that as the Broncos roster sits today, they would not be a favorite at New York. But if an anticipated change gets made, the Broncos will definitely be a favorite at New York.
So would that change happen to be with a quarterback?
Some projection coming in there on the Bronco game, but again, just another really interesting matchup, Broncos-Giants Week 1 standpoint. And you said that the card is full with interesting games. The Raiders, in particular, have a lot of interesting games on their schedule. Get to see them for 2 Monday nights pretty early in the season, both in Week 1 and Week 4. Obviously, from a Chicago Bears fan standpoint, we're trying to already get our tickets for the Raiders games for Week 5, although not that 1 o'clock game we'll be able to sneak out of the book. Maybe somebody else can sneak out of the book.
Yep.
But a really interesting game in the fact that the Raiders play a Monday night before at the Chargers. Then they get the Bears kind of on a short week, and then they play Denver at Denver the week after that. So from a handicapping standpoint, that's one of those things that handicappers look for in a shortened week and a sandwiched non-conference game versus 2 divisional opponents. And strangely enough, the Bears are facing that same thing
right.
As they head to the Raiders. I think they play Detroit the week before and the Packers the week after. So all those little scheduling quirks, the handicappers are going through those schedules right now and circling those games up as to where there's those interesting scheduling variations and that type of stuff, to where when those games come up, they've already got those things targeted to take a look at. So
right.
when you start looking at the schedule, look at it from your handicapping standpoint, and see which games are in particularly bad spots for teams. And one of the things that I always look at, and amazingly enough, we're here in May and June looking at the schedule, but I also like to look late in the schedule to where our warm weather teams going to cold weather sites, and who's got to travel to Kansas City's and Denver's in December and stuff like that.
Chicago's,
and who gets the gift of getting to go to dome stadiums, right. In the winter and that type of stuff. So just another handicapping tool to look at when you look at that NFL schedule.
I think 2 games that kind of stuck out to me too is one, it's the Packers play at the Saints in one of the late games that day, and as we talked about, the number is based on a certain number 12 being a quarterback for Green Bay. But if that changes, you literally could be looking at, say, Jordan Love against Jameis Winston that day. We know Drew Brees is already retired. But here's a really interesting tidbit, is that the team that had the first pick in the draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the worst record in the league, had the number 1 pick. They took Trevor Lawrence, a new coach in Urban Meyer. They're the favorite against the Texans. I can't remember a team that had the first pick in the draft and is on the road week one, worst record in the league, actually a favorite against the Houston Texans. We know that's a product of not knowing for sure what Deshaun Watson's status is going to be. Texans have the lowest win total on the board of any team, but kind of an interesting tidbit there that right now Jacksonville is actually the favorite in that game.
Well, and the acquisition of Tim Tebow just cannot be undersold of what he brings to the line and what he's going to bring to that team.
I'm not going to tell anybody about that jersey that you wear occasionally, but no, it's so much fun. I mean, I know it's early and the schedule just came out. We could spend hours talking about the schedule. All the Raider games have been up for about a month. We've seen some movement on those too. I actually bet the Cowboys against the Raiders before the schedule show came out, bet the Raiders against the Eagles, and then we saw the number for the Raiders-Ravens kind of fluctuate a little bit too. So it's never too early to talk about football.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you can look for in the coming weeks is as we talk about the NFL and getting a lot more of those week one props up a lot earlier. So a lot of these rookie quarterbacks and some of the rookie receivers, I anticipate that we'll be putting up some props on their over-under, touchdowns in weeks ones or passing receptions and yardage in week one. So we'll get way out in front of that type of stuff so that you can have some fun on the app and looking at those props.
We put up the Rookie of the Year, the Offensive Rookie of the Year, basically, and a lot of action on that and a lot of guests talking about it. I've had a lot of guests, how come you guys didn't put the defensive one up? It's so interesting with Micah Parsons and Surtain and Horn. So something to think about as well that we might look at is kind of putting some up for you defensive fans out there as well. We're going to kind of jump now to pro basketball. The season's winding down right now. You look at the way that
season's not winding. The season's ramping up.
Well, the
getting ready for the best part of it is the postseason.
You've got the play-in games, which I love it. I think extra games just makes it more fun for us. Extra games on the board. So
yeah, and I think it's made the stretch down the stretch here more interesting, and teams not clinching so soon.
Wait a minute, did you say down the stretch?
Down the stretch, yeah.
Preakness is this Saturday too, guys. But we'll touch on that.
But that 7, 8, 9, 10 kind of new playoff format of the 9 and 10 were basically done and out of the postseason when it started. So having that 7-8 play and the 9 and 10 play and then that next game that's going to figure out who's going to be the 7 and 8 has extended the availability of teams to make the playoffs. So now these teams that are even in the 11, 12 that are close to maybe overtaking the 10 are still playing hard to try and get into the playoffs.
That's the key, I think, is that you look at those teams that make 9 and 10, they've probably been playing playoff basketball for the last 3 to 4 weeks just to have that opportunity to get to that play-in game. So they're ready. While other teams who are kind of locked into spots haven't been, these teams kind of similar to hockey when a team is trying to get to that 8th spot to qualify, and we see them many times upset the number 1 seed. These bottom teams right now really have an opportunity to win a game or two, and they're playing their best ball because they had to get to that 9 or 10
and
spot.
The other thing you're seeing is the 7 and 8 dying to get out of the 7 and 8 hole to find their way to that 6 hole so that they don't have to play in this mess at the end of the season and guarantee them spot and playing in a longer series.
I really like the way they did that in basketball. I hope it's something that they continue to do. So we'll see. As Jay said, it's really kind of down the stretch. They're coming right now, so it's going to be fun. We're going to jump over to hockey too, and I'm not a big fan of the way hockey has restructured their playoffs, where you're playing teams in a division. I know this year you have to, and there's so much chippiness between these teams because all you played was teams in your own division. We talked about it from early in the season that the West was going to be wild. It's still wild as we're filming this right now and taping it. VGK has a shot at the President's Trophy. Looks like they will probably be the number 2 team out west. That means Colorado would win the President's Trophy, and VGK unfortunately gets the Minnesota Wild. They were 3-5 against the Wild this year. They were 6-2 against the Blues. In those 3 wins against the Wild, 2 were in overtime, so they hadn't played great. They're going to end up possibly with the most wins in the league and not win their division.
Well, it's a shame because them and Colorado really are potentially number 1 and number 2 in the league, and they're going to find themselves in that divisional battle.
4-4, they were against each other in the regular season. So,
but it's too early to say. We talked about Colorado is going to win. We'll go out on a limb.
They're a huge
We'll
favorite.
Go out on a limb and say they're going to knock off the Kings in this final game.
Put a touchdown up in the last time they played the Kings.
And the Knights are going to be the number 2 seed. And as you said, the Wild have been a team that's just been a thorn in their side. They've really struggled in Minnesota. We'll see if they can clamp down and get through that series and the energy that they're going to have to spend to get through the Wild, while Colorado should be able to kind of breeze through St. Louis. St. Louis is still a very, very good team, but not on the level of where the Avalanche are at. But the Knights are going to have to play a really good series to get through Minnesota, and will that wear them down going into that Colorado series?
I think when I look at the Knights, the big advantage still to me is that they have that goaltending tandem of Fleury and Leonard. I think it's the best in the league. Fleury 6 shutouts this year. I know last year when we got to the postseason, Leonard was kind of the guy. I know he's missed a lot of time this year. For me, I think Fleury should be the guy. I think it's going to be a true timeshare this year to see who kind of has the hot hand, which goalie can stand on their head, and that's the big advantage. They're also a much faster team, picking up Alex Pietrangelo on the back end, and I think you look at some of the youth they have on that team, they're all in. You need Pacioretty to be healthy, of course, but I think that Reeves to come back and kind of have that physical presence, which I think he will. But I think VGK is a much faster team. I think that'll help them in the playoffs. But to me, the huge advantage they have is that goaltending tandem of Fleury and Leonard. And I think it should be, for me at least, a true timeshare this year.
Yeah, I fully expect it to be. I think that's what's best. I think that these guys kind of thrive off of each other and challenge each other and try and one up. I'm going to have a better game than you had the game before, and I think that's.
Can't you make a case though? Fleury by far had the better season this year.
Absolutely. Well, Leonard was hurt, for so long, and Fleury got in that groove of playing games, and I think that when you have guys like that on the back end too, it allows that defense to really push up to the red line, push up to the opposing blue line, and leave a little bit more of those odd man chances or breakaway chances, which we've seen the Knights give up more than what we've seen in the past 2 years of the odd man chances. But that's because that defense of Theodore and Pietrangelo really jumping into the rush. Even McNabb, who's really a defensive defenseman, has been in the offensive zone so much deeper because they have confidence in those goalies, and that allows them to do what they do and score more goals and dominate third periods by playing the 4 lines that they play. So this is going to be good though, because the Wild and the Avalanche are teams that can compete with the Knights, strangely because they're all in the same division. And if they can get through that, they're going to face some tough teams. We'll see how it plays out with who comes out of these other divisions. But an exciting next, hopefully what is the next 2 weeks to just find our way out of the West.
I think the one thing is, if they are the number 2 seed and say they do come out of the West, when they reseed everything, they're going to be in a position again to potentially not have home ice advantage against anybody, even against Colorado now if it works out that way. The one tough spot would be if they get through Minnesota, is that Game 1 is in Colorado, and if it goes 7, Game 7 is in Colorado instead of home ice here at T-Mobile. So I think that does hurt them a lot. We talked about it all year, how critical it was for whatever team to win the West, especially Vegas with their struggles against Minnesota. Looks like they'll probably be number 2. But just looking at the other divisions too, Pittsburgh, red hot going into the postseason. You look at the Central. I mean, Carolina on top of the Central, a really good team. Florida with Joel Quenneville's won 6 in a row. The defending champs Tampa finishes 3rd in that division. And out north, you look at how well Toronto's played all year, but a team that's getting really hot right now. McDavid had the 100 points this year. They've won 3 in a row coming in. So there's a lot of balance and a lot of parity. These teams know each other. 8 games against each team in your division. So much chippiness and familiarity. I think the playoffs are going to be great.
Yeah, talking about the Canadian division, nothing will...
The North.
Nothing will surprise me there. Any of those 4 teams coming out won't be a surprise to me at all. I think that again, change in location and somebody getting hot at the right time. There's just not the consistent defense from those teams up there. So when we talk about
Edmonton and Toronto can score with anybody.
Short series,
right.
Yeah. It's hey, make mistake and put some of those teams on the power play. Whether it's Edmonton or Toronto, if you can't stay out of the penalty box, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. But that being said, if you can keep them off the power play, there is a way to win those games.
I think when you look at Edmonton, too, I think they kind of have something to prove. Last year, remember, they had the different structure, and they kind of had that play-in round. They got beat by Chicago.
And they were playing at home.
Right. They got beat by Chicago in a 5-game series, and they're playing really well right now. McDavid has the point, got the point record. You look at Draisaitl. They're an explosive offensive team. So I think all divisions are going to be fun. From our side of it, hey, it is just so exciting to have VGK in it. Sometimes we're rooting against them on the puck line, but I do think think that that first round matchup, if it comes up against Minnesota, is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and again, look for a lot of props. We always are talking about that we're extending the menu, growing the menu, and as we go into these NHL playoff games, look for a full set of props, not only on the VGK games, but all of the hockey games in general, going to really explode the prop menu.
Yep. And now baseball, too. I mean, baseball, the boys this summer are through their first full month. Baseball's starting to right-side itself a little bit. I know we talked about it a couple of segments ago that, baseball for the first month, you were seeing pretty much a 50-50 split where underdogs were playing really well. It was uncharacteristic where usually you saw somewhere in the 61 to 63% favorites. It has really started to right-side itself a little bit now. You look at the American League, A's are on top, White Sox without Jimenez and Luis Robert are on top, Yankees and Red Sox are on top. The Mets are on a 7-game winning streak. Dodgers and Padres are right there. Cardinals are playing good. Maybe the one surprise is the Giants right now, who are still on top out west. But overall, baseball starting to right-side it a little bit. You're starting to see a lot more favorites play really, really well.
Yeah, you talk about the Giants. Obviously, we talked about them a week ago or so, finding a way to get stuff done, staying atop that west with the Padres and Dodgers behind them and some of the injuries that they've had to face. The Mets remain on top of the East. Obviously, a big question mark with DeGrom going on the IL here recently to see if they can hold up top there without their number one starter.
Lindor's starting to play a little bit better, too, off to a really slow start, but he's starting to play a little bit better.
And I still think one of the biggest surprises is the Red Sox, still sitting atop that division. The Yankees are closely behind them, but we'll see how long Boston can hold them off. The Yankees got Luke Voit back here, a big bat in their lineup to go with those other sluggers. So if he can come back and swing the bat the way he did kind of in the COVID-shortened season, the rest of that AL East is going to be in a lot of trouble. And Toronto, again, a team that
that was the better favorite, remember, in the offseason.
All the tools, all the guys to succeed. And I don't know, if just the travel schedule of them playing down in Florida, going to end up going up to Buffalo. Right? Yeah, Ryu has not been that fantastic of what he's going to be. But I still think Toronto from a pure lineup standpoint, and Springer hasn't been healthy, and they've been battling the injury bug as well. But they're a team that I look is going to somehow bounce back here. And we talked about it a week ago. The Braves, still another team that's starting to find their way up in that NL East, but I believe that the Braves are going to be there at the top at the end. So maybe a team to look to start playing a little bit better. See Freeman starting to bat a little bit better. Acuna and Albies getting healthy and getting their playing time, and that pitching staff's been doing a little bit better. They just acquired some back end help as well. So look for the Braves when you're handicapping to maybe start and reverse the course and find some value on the Braves.
I think with the Mets too is offensively, they need some help. We know that their pitching has been good. There's been some rumblings about local Chris Bryant that, he's somebody on the Mets' radar. They're always looking to kind of make that splash against the Yankees. So interesting to see. Trevor Story's been tied to the Yankees. Chris Bryant a little bit to the Mets. Interesting to see, especially as the Cubs continue to really struggle right now. They had a mini win streak about a week ago, but have started to kind of fall off, not getting the pitching, have a lot of injuries, not getting the offensive production out of Baez, Rizzo, or Bryant. Although Bryant's having a better year this year, you have to wonder how active the Mets might be at the trade.
Well, and I think of the Mets, it's they've got the tools there, and they've got the guys that should be hitting a lot better to get them that offensive production. But really, you brought up Lindor. He's been probably their biggest struggle. McNeil isn't hitting what his capability is. And Dominic Smith, who had an awesome season last year, had a great preseason and was really expected to be top of that lineup, 300 hitter type guy. He's really struggled. So if those three guys can find it along with what Alonso's doing, they're going to find themselves in a really, really good situation, regardless of what's going on with their pitching, because those are three really good hitters.
Yeah, they're a really good
Maybe
team.
The fight over the raccoon or the rat over McNeil and Lindor
I like it.
sparked both of those guys, and we'll see them
put that prop up.
start
Which
to
one
play,
was it? But,
start to play a little bit better.
A lot of good stuff going on, guys. I know we made a reference a little bit to the Preakness. Preakness is Saturday, $10,000 Twin Q that day. And don't forget the mobile app. I mean, we have the race side of it as well. We saw so many guests come in and sign up for STN Sports, but get the race side of it so they could play during the Kentucky Derby and all the races that were going on. Please do the same thing for STN with sports. Sports, we have the $100 deposit going on right now, up to $100. And for a $50 deposit, you get that cool STN Sports hat that Teaser's wearing right now. Don't forget about our kiosk, Skip the Line, at all of our properties, including our Wildfire Gaming and the El Cortez. Just a lot of cool stuff going on right now, especially with basketball and hockey getting close to the postseason. Football week one's up. All the Raider stuff's up. And don't forget about the
Just touching on the kiosk, too. We just made a big change in the kiosk. So if you come in and you've had the great experience experience to be able to play at our kiosks, they were betting only, and we're now adding the ability to deposit. So another funding capability.
Skip the line.
Where
Right.
you don't have to come up to the counter to deposit into your STN Sports account. Go directly to the kiosk, hit account number or hit account, and put your card in. You're going to be able to deposit into your STN Sports account at the kiosk, as well as the great funding options of Pay Near Me and Play Plus. And we still have some really, really good MMA cards coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've got big UFC fights, some big fight nights, and we're a week away from another golf major. So a lot of stuff on the board, a lot of betting options. It's no better time than right now to get the STN Sports app and be able to look through all these wagers from the convenience of your home or wherever you may be at. A lot of stuff on the board, and continuing to grow with the wagering menu.
Yeah. We actually put up a big heavyweight fight that's going to be in August too. We put up the Fury-Joshua fight. So just a lot of stuff on the board. As Jay mentioned, we love when all you guys come in and experience everything we have to offer. Kiosks are a great way to skip the line. Don't forget to get signed up for STN Mobile. A lot of great stuff going on. He's Jason. I'm Chucky. This is our buddy Teaser. We'll see you guys next week on Bookends.